A farmer once rescued 2 orphaned bear cubs and raised them in his home. The cubs grew, started families of their own, and now the man shares his farm peacefully with an entire clan of massive bears. From a young age, Michael was drawn to the wild world around him, enchanted by its beauty, its secrets, and its quiet power. His parents were humble, hardworking people employed at a nearby factory. But for Michael, nature was always home. They often took their son with them to the forest where he first saw bear tracks. Little Michael was fascinated by these mighty animals. He could spend hours examining their tracks, trying to imagine what real bears looked like at school. Michael was a quiet and thoughtful child, but when it came to nature and animals, his eyes would light up. He could talk for hours about his observations in the forest. Michael's interest in wild animals began to take shape in his early years when he watched them from afar in the taiga. After finishing school, Michael decided not to move to the big city, but to stay in his hometown. He got a job as a forest ranger's assistant to be closer to nature and animals every day. He walked through the forest, observing the lives of its inhabitants and making notes in his journal more than 10 years ago. An event occurred that changed Michael's life forever. During one of his walks, he found a little bear cub whose mother had been shot by poachers. The cub was very weak and needed urgent help. Without hesitation, Michael decided to take in the cub. He knew that the little bear wouldn't survive alone in the forest. Michael named the bear cub Misha and began to take care of him. He fed the cub, treated him, and cared for him like his own child. Misha quickly became attached to his savior. Good nutrition, love, and care did their job. The cub grew quickly and soon turned into a large and powerful bear. When Misha turned 4 years old, Michael agreed to take in a young female bear named Masha, who had lost her home. After the local zoo went bankrupt, the bears quickly bonded, and soon, Michael and Masha had offspring. They became parents of 2 bear cubs. Thus, Michael acquired long-awaited grandchildren. The birth of the tiny cubs was one of the most pleasant and exciting moments in his life. With the appearance of the bear family, Michael's life changed dramatically. Now he had to take care not only of himself, but also of his enormous wild wards. The man began to equip his farm so that it would be comfortable not only for him, but also for his new friends. Michael built spacious enclosures where the bears could feel comfortable. He took care of the entire bear family, feeding them and monitoring their health. He even remembered the birthdays of each bear and celebrated them regularly. But the most amazing thing about the whole story is how he managed to communicate with these wild animals. Michael learned to understand the bears' habits, moods, and desires. He talked to them as equals. The bears, in turn, recognized him as their leader and treated him with love and respect. At the same time, Michael didn't want the bears to become spoiled pets. So every day he took them for walks in the taiga. Away from civilization, the animals played, bathed, ate berries in season, and experienced real forest life. Michael carefully observed their behavior, making important notes about the lives of these amazing creatures. Michael's farm was named Bear's Den in honor of his unusual wards. The news of a man living with bears quickly spread throughout the region. Many considered Michael crazy, but there were also those who admired his courage and kindness. Some people categorically stated that bears should only live in the wild and criticized Michael for keeping the animals in captivity. But the man patiently explained that many of his wards simply wouldn't survive in the wild. Nevertheless, Michael did everything possible to ensure that the growing cubs became independent and well-adapted to the wild. To achieve this, he spent several hours a day with them in the forest recording some of his unusual walks on camera. Michael's goal is to create living conditions for the bear family as close to their natural habitat as possible. His home is located in the remote taiga, and the bears are only familiar with civilization through encounters with tourists and journalists visiting the farm. Local authorities initially wanted to forbid Michael from keeping bears on the farm, but after seeing how well he cared for the animals, they allowed him to continue his unique activity. Thus began a new chapter in Michael's life, the life of a man living with a whole family of bears. This is truly a unique case of a man living under the same roof with several dangerous predators. Watching the amazing walks with the bear family, many admire Michael's courage and calmness, as well as his ability to communicate with such unpredictable wild animals. Michael, his bears became real internet stars. His videos and stories spread online, attracting attention from people around the world. With growing popularity, journalists and curious tourists began to visit Michael's farm. He told them about his life, about the bears, and the importance of preserving nature. Despite his increasing fame, Michael remained a humble person. He continued to live in his small house next to the bear enclosures, caring for his wards every day. He always personally fed the bears, cleaned their enclosures, and treated the animals if they were sick. Of course, Michael's life was full of dangers. Although the bears were attached to him, they remained wild animals. There were times when the bears became aggressive, and Michael had to show all his courage and composure to calm them down and diffuse the situation. One day, one of the bears during play miscalculated his strength and seriously injured Michael with his sharp claws. But even after this incident, the persistent man didn't give up his work. He said he understood the risks of his job and was ready to accept them for the sake of the animals' well-being. Over the years, Michael became a real legend in the local area. His farm turned into a popular place for ecotourism. Many people came here to see the man who lived with a whole family of bears. Of course, over several years of working with bears, Michael faced serious financial difficulties. Keeping such a large number of predators required significant funds. Michael often invested all his savings in the development of the farm and the care of the bears, but he never complained, considering it his calling and the bears his best friends. Michael paid special attention to the health of his wards. He regularly conducted medical examinations involving experienced veterinarians. For this, however, mostly, Michael used folk methods of treating animals, some of which were really unique. Michael loved walking with the bears in the forest the most. The man enjoyed watching the bears' behavior in their natural habitat. The farmer could spend hours watching them catch fish in the river, gather berries and nuts, and climb trees. These observations helped him better understand the needs of his pets and create more comfortable conditions for them on the farm. Dozens of hours of video on Michael's YouTube channel show how amazingly the bears and cubs interact with each other. While the man accompanies everything that happens with fascinating commentary, he films their games, quarrels, and reconciliations, showing that these animals have complex social behavior and emotions. Videos with the little cubs are especially touching. Michael films how the cubs take their first steps, learn to climb trees, swim in the forest lake next to him, and catch fish. These shots move viewers and help people see bears not as terrifying predators, but as amazing and beautiful creatures. Michael also uses his YouTube channel to dispel myths about bears. He explains their behavior, tells how to behave when meeting a bear in the forest, and shows that these animals usually do not show aggression without a reason. However, he also emphasizes that comparing them to harmless pets is, of course, wrong. According to Michael, when he's in the taiga surrounded by his children, he feels truly happy and free. Michael still lives on his farm, surrounded each day by the bears he's come to love like family. He's deeply grateful for the life he's built, a dream fulfilled, devoted to protecting these extraordinary creatures. His story continues to inspire others, proving that a deep love for nature and animals can overcome any challenge. Even the wildest of beasts, with patience and compassion, can become part of something as close and powerful as family.